Good morning. I'm sitting here in my apartment where I usually sit, and I decided to make a video here. Now, if you turn, you will see a tree, which makes it look like a forest sometimes, or whatever I want. I'm drinking my coffee. But anyway, I want to discuss my granddaughter just got married again. So I wanted particularly to talk about how important men are as partners. Now, I know very well that you're going to get bored with me eventually talking on these videos, which is why I place a lot of importance on a video making male partner. Why? Because his views on all kinds of issues could be different than mine. They could be extremely valuable because of his experience out in the world, working, traveling, doing all kinds of activities that I didn't get to do if I was home raising the children, having the children in the first place. So I, with my granddaughter in mind, want to say, now, you're not ever going to find, in my experience, a perfect man. He is just going to infuriate you at times. So you really need to learn to fight, because he is going to respect a fighter who will not take from him anything that he would not take from his female partner. In other words, you are both human. Now, there are some men who like to collect women. Now, I came from a culture, Mormon, who the founder had a revelation, he said, about polygamy. Oh, when I read that, I thought, oh, because do you think a man entitled to 7 wives? Do you think that's accurate? Do you think men can actually handle 7 women? While a woman is supposed to get along with a little sliver? Oh, no. So I said, there's something wrong with that thinking. Because there's some women, women have all kinds of gifts. Some, well, God forbid, some women are even smarter than their male counterparts. Like, I married a man who, it wasn't very smart, but I was very smart. I mean, I thought, gosh, I have too much brains. Too many for most men. So, why not give this guy a chance? Because when we have children, they'll inherit enough brains for me. And then they might inherit his wonderful gifts, as he was a singer. I had an absolutely marvelous, unique voice. I thought, oh, if they could get that. And then, another thing, he had beautiful legs, and I didn't have beautiful legs. So I thought, God, oh, I don't want my children to inherit legs like mine. That is really, and so in order to get better legs, well, I was taught to think like this on the ranch, where the cattle, you had to instill in your cattle what characteristics you wanted by, well, I hate to say it, but anyway, so I'd heard this kind of talk all my life on the cattle ranch, so I was thinking, well, I need to, uh, and of course this guy hadn't been to college like I had. He probably didn't even have a real high IQ because he was so good looking that he'd been spoiled in school by the girls who did his homework for him, so he didn't even learn what he could have learned. So a lot of what happened to him wasn't his fault. And then his mother got pneumonia. His mother was a beautiful woman who, and his father was a drinker and probably didn't feed his family quite as well as he should have done. And anyway, his mother got pneumonia and died. So there was another terrible strike against him, because then he no longer lived with parents, and his dear grandmother, who was a very saintly, wonderful Mormon grandmother, took in the children. And it was her son that was doing the drinking. So she just like me with my sons when they drink. How can we know very well that their wives aren't going to like this, might leave them, and so we're trained to think all the time, although the wives generally don't think this. We're trained to think how to get our sons to quit their bad habits and be better husbands as well as fathers. And so anyway, I married this man, and I thought it was a pretty good match because whenever, I wasn't going to do his homework for him, I was going to expect him to think, which I detected he had not been expected to do in school. So he was kind of behind on his learning, but he did show a good judgment when he decided to marry me and have children with me. He saw, I'm sure, as an opportunity to better himself, better have, and of course that's what happened. We had two very smart little boys, as I predicted. They have plenty of brains, and in fact, they've just been wonder children, in a way, because they not only have brains, but they can sing. And they have great legs. So, I thought that was really about as good as I could do. And, of course, he lived in the vicinity. He was like a hometown boy. He was raised where my father was, so I knew that town very well, where he went, and he knew it even better than I did. So it was like he had all kinds of relatives that would support, and even if we had trouble, which we did, because he was an alcoholic by the time he was 15. And it was kind of sneaky. I mean, his poor grandmother, I certainly didn't blame her, because she had all she could do to take care of him and his brothers and sisters. And the two youngest, they were just gorgeous children. And they were both mean as they could be, my husband and his sister. Well, this is what happens when there's something in the family that was beyond my husband's ability to control. He had a rough life growing up, and he was what you might call spoiled. When my father got hold of him, he said, "Why, this guy's never even got up and did a thing in the morning." No. Me, I was up at 5 or 6 at the very least, having my oatmeal and getting ready to work on the farm and the ranch and do whatever. And here was my first husband, sleeping away maybe till noon. Oh dear. What a preparation to become my husband. who would be expected to go to work on my father's ranch and show some talent. If he expected ever to be able to take over a ranch, this was my father's thinking. And I thought, oh dear, he just didn't take to horses too much. But I told him, I said, you don't have to ride horses well to be a cowboy. You can be a singing cowboy. Hollywood is full of singing cowboys, and you have a voice that just fantastic. So don't worry. Dad doesn't know it, but you and I are going to go down to California and Hollywood, where they create stars, and I'll help you become a great country singer. Because he had the voice, he had the looks, and he had the manager, me. So, well, my husband thought that was a pretty good idea. He liked the sounds of it, and he did his basic training while he was in the service in California, and he learned to do sheet metal, which is something he did in the Air Force, and he proved to, well, I don't know how good he was at it, but he could do it. And another thing I found out about him, men on the job around him liked him, so they would do everything they could to, they did just like the girls did in school. They would help him. If he didn't know how to do something, they would show him. He always had this ability to get his fellow workers to like him. Not contrary to my dad, who he was a very, he thought he knew everything, and he was just an impossible boss that hired men didn't stick with him very long before they quit him. Well, that was my father who had that. Oh, he had brains all right, but a rotten disposition. And my son, my husband, well, he was a lot more devil-may-care than my dad, but he could sing. I knew he could sing because he had gotten hired to sing for a group of tourists when he was 9 years old. Imagine. They drove around and he'd sing, oh, riding down the canyon. Oh, he could sing country like, along the Navajo Trail. Oh, you should have heard him sing. And I was just so impressed. I thought, oh, if I could grow up and marry that guy. And I did. I kept that in mind, and when I saw an opportunity, I was very nice to him. I knew that I better not do anything that would discourage him. Well, it's the same, I must say, with a video partner. I assure you, I am doing everything I can to find a great video partner, because I know how important they are. And I had one for, 8 years, Doc. If you look on here, you will just be disgusted at how many times he was drunk. Well, you expect perfection? He drank. That's what he did. But he happened to be very smart. And he thought that he could do a lot that most men couldn't do while drinking. Well, this happened to be true. But that didn't make his drinking any tolerable. But that's what he presented me with, and did I say, I didn't give up on him, because I looked around, I thought, well, he's the best there is right here at the moment. He's not a mean drunk, he doesn't go crazy, he doesn't go out with other women, they don't want him, and, well, he's got wonderful legs, very good, used to be very good looking, till the drinking aged him. But he was the best there was. And I looked on him as a work in progress. I would talk to him about his drinking. I did quite a lot on my videos. You know, you'll find him. I'm calling him names, telling him what you'll see a lot of alcoholic videos among, but that's what he needed, because he obviously hadn't gotten enough of this preaching or whatever to make up his mind. He would just have to quit to shut that woman up. His mother, I think, had doted on him. She thought he was brilliant, and she just didn't notice he was a drinker. He said that he hid it from her all her life. She didn't know it. Now me, you can't hide it from me. My sons will testify that I have said quite a lot of stuff to them about the drinking. But his mother, and so he hadn't heard enough. Well, and now I'm looking for a sober one. I don't care what else he does, but if he has other faults, if he's not a drunk, I'm going to consider him. If he is, he's got to be outstanding when he expresses himself about issues. He can't be a mute. So, believe me, I value this type of man very highly. They just don't come along every day. And when I see one who's talented, believe me, I will go after that man, and I will haunt him, in a way, trying to convince him that he can do the world a lot of good on videos. So why not? Believe me, I'm thinking for the good of my channel. And Doc, in spite of his drinking, added a lot more interest to my channel. We could deal with his alcoholism right there in front of us. And like you have to deal with my weight that I put on, my suffering over what I have done to myself. Just as a smoker, we could talk about his smoking. Doc didn't smoke. And we could discuss his faults, as I tried to discuss mine, and he could discuss my faults, because I'd have to let him if I discussed his. So you see how valuable this exchange is between man and woman. Honest opinions. Very valuable. So, believe me, I value the fact that man practically ran the world. If I didn't value that, what kind of fool would I be?